I'm Matt Murphy, the Public Works Director for the City of Algoma. On Tuesday, October 19th, the Public Works met here at City Hall at 8:30 in the morning for our monthly meeting, and things that were discussed. Probably the biggest thing, the marina is now closed for the season. Both A and B docks have been removed from the water, and the marina is locked up and winterized along with the fish cleaning station for the season. It was a very successful season for the city, and we look forward to having everybody back in 2022 in spring. So a couple other things, big ticket items. Leaf pickup citywide has started. You can rake your leaves, you can bring them to the curb. Please put them onto the street, just off the curb onto the street. It makes it the easiest for us as we go by with the leaf vac to pick them up in a timely manner. If you leave them way up on your grass, we have to work that much harder to get them down to the curb to get picked up. Our leaf vac, the hose, that structure that picks up the leaves only stretches so far onto the yard. It's just a lot easier if they're just into the curb. With that being said, we have a route. We start and we complete that whole route, and when that whole route is done, we will start back over and run that whole route, and we will continue to do that till all of the leaves are picked up or Mother Nature changes seasons on us and doesn't allow us to because it starts snowing. So unfortunately, if you put out your leaves and we come by with the leaf vac and pick them up, and your neighbor rakes them the next day, they might be out there for 3 or 4 days till we get back out there to pick them up, just because we try to stay on the route. Otherwise, we'd be jumping all over through town trying to pick up leaves, and this person calls and they want their leaves picked up today, and then I got to drive over to the other side of town. It's just a lot easier if we stay on that whole route, and once we get through the whole route, we start back over. So we have a couple blacktop patches that have to be taken care of throughout the city yet. We're hoping to get those wrapped up in the next 2 weeks here. And our next meeting will be November 16th at 8:30 here at City Hall. If anybody has any questions, feel free to give the street shop a call on the leaf pickup. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Chief Randy Remicker with the Algoma Police Department, here to give the report for the month of October. Our next coffee with the Chief will be held on Friday, November 19th at 9 a.m. at Coffee Talazzo. So if you have a question or concern about your quality of life or law enforcement issue, come on down, grab a cup of coffee, and tell me what your concern is. Our speed trailer is currently set up on Division Street up by the high school and will remain there until it's put away for the winter season. In the animal control world, we've seen a large request this past year for catching stray animals such as cats, and we have made additional purchases of live traps, tools, and supplies. Currently, we're getting the facility ready for its winter season, and we're fortunate to have our first high school volunteer who's currently helping us feed and clean the facility itself. So, if you have an animal problem and need some help, pick up the phone and give us a call. In code enforcement, big news, we're switching over to our winter enforcement come November 1st. So as a reminder to everyone, between November 1st and April 1st, between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., there is no parking on the streets anywhere in the city. Failure to comply can result in a citation and the vehicle being towed at the owner's expense. As far as actions, for the year, we've mailed out or given out 200 warnings for code violations, and we've issued over 31 citations, and the city has acted on 11 properties for failure to comply. For calls of service for the month of September, we had 137 compared to last year, which was 136. Year to date, up to the end of the month, we're at 1249 compared to last year of 1405. Finally, from the Algoma Police Department, I want to wish everyone a happy and safe Halloween. Take care and be safe.
Met on October 18th. We'd like to remind everyone of our open hours. We're open Monday through Thursday, 10 to 7, Friday, 10 to 6, and Saturday, 10 to 3. We also continue to offer curbside pickup Monday through Friday, 10 to 4. We continue to offer many programs for all ages at the library. Bring in your excess yarn to exchange for other yarn starting Monday, November 1st until Saturday, November 13th for our annual yarn exchange event. The event begins at 11 a.m. and concludes at 4 p.m. on Thursday, November 18th. Wednesday, November 3rd at 3 p.m., join us for an afternoon of creative hands-on fun in our pop-up makerspace. will feature art, tinkering, and STEAM activities. Join us on the first Wednesday of the month for a different activity. This program is aimed for ages 9 and up. The week of November 8th begins International Games Week. Monday, November 8th, we'll have the Xbox set up for kids to play after school. And on Wednesday, the 10th, we'll be playing Smash Brothers on the Switch after school. We will have other games set out for open play throughout the week. Kids learn how to write a thank you card, decorate the cards, and give them out with this grab and go kit, available on Monday, November 15th. Tuesday, November 9th, join Braylon for adult creative writing in person at the library at 1 p.m. Wednesday, November 10th, we'll have our unplugged coding kit for families available. And on Friday, November 12th at 3 p.m., we'll hold our after-school movie. Tuesday, November 16th at 1 p.m. is our Bookworms Book Club. Join us as we discuss The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes. On Wednesday, November 17th at 1 p.m., we will have a Flight of the Monarch program. Join us as we take a closer look at the biology and behavior of monarchs and discuss ways to help them and other insects in our own backyards. This program will be given by entomology specialist Patrick Leash. Patrick is the director of the University of Wisconsin Insect Diagnostic Lab. He also provides entomology-related outreach for various groups. This program is sponsored by Bird City Algoma and the Algoma Friends of Crescent Beach. On Monday, November 22nd, pick up a Thanksgiving mocktail kit for adults. This kit is designed for adults to help with ideas for fall-inspired drinks. Kits will include 2 to 3 recipes and some ingredients. Tuesday, November 23rd, we have a Thanksgiving craft. Pick up a kit and a fun and easy craft for kids to decorate their house for Thanksgiving. And on Saturday, November 27th, is Small Business Saturday. Stop by the library for a chance to win some prizes and participate in a scavenger hunt. More events and programs can be found on our Facebook page and our website. The Wisconsin Library Association Conference will be held in Green Bay from November 16th through the 19th. Diana and Braylon will attend on Wednesday the 17th, and myself and Katie will attend on Thursday, November 18th. Diana and Braylon have just begun their last course for their library certification. This will run through December, and our next board meeting will be held on November 15th at 4 p.m.
I'm Jared Hine, the City Administrator, and I'll be going over the minutes for the City Council. The City Council held a special meeting on Tuesday, October 19th at 4:30. A couple items on the agenda. The first was a resolution of a necessity of acquisition, and this is in regards to our redevelopment project on 5th Street, next to the grocery store and Perry Park. Basically, a resolution declaring that the city needs to acquire those properties in order for the project to move forward. It's a required step in that process. Then there was also discussion on a resolution and ordinance change for redistricting. So every 10 years when the census comes out, we have to work with the county on that and redrawing district lines and how their wards then affect our aldermanic districts. And so that was adopted. So there were some changes to the boundaries. So we always encourage residents, make sure that you're looking at that on your ballot. Make sure you're voting for the right alderman, because there are a couple changes there. But the aldermen within the districts are staying the same. It's just the boundaries of those districts are changing, so be sure to double check that. And then finally, we are entering into an agreement with our long-standing financial advisor with Huntington Securities as we go out to borrow next year for capital projects. And then following that, the council had their next regular meeting on Monday, November 1st, just this past Monday. There was there was a little bit of public comment from an alderman just expressing gratitude for the police department and their offer to help bridge some of our staffing, short staffing with other departments, specifically with the youth club, opening that up. So we expressed gratitude for that. There was a proclamation from the mayor proclaiming the week of January 23rd through the 29th of 2022 to be School Choice Week. Also under new business, we had a liquor license that was recommended for approval from the Protection of Persons and Property Committee, and that was ultimately approved at the council for Millie's Pub and Grub, which will be at 518 4th Street, probably more familiar. It used to be Apes Bar and Grill, right there on the main drag there, 4th Street. There was also a resolution approving the purchase of a new ambulance. That cost is going to be split. The city of Algoma will be paying just under 50% of that when it's all said and done. And then our townships that we contract with for that are paying the balance of that. So that will be a new ambulance to replace our aging and no longer optimally operating one. We'll be purchasing that here within the next year. There was some discussion and then approval to create a City of Algoma social media page. We have in our handbook and our policies that anytime we want to create a social media page or account, that needs approval from the council. And so that was brought forward as a means to enhance our public outreach and our communication with stakeholders in the community and the public. So we'll be creating some social media pages here in the near future. And then there was an item on here, consideration of permanent sidewalk removal for the 900 block of Mill Street and for some distance on Washington Street. This past summer during one of the storms, a tree was upheaved and damaged some of the sidewalk over there. And then there was a petition from the homeowners to the Public Works Committee to permanently remove the sidewalk. They stated or cited a number of reasons for that. So they petitioned the Public Works Committee, who passed that on per our policy, our ordinance, made a recommendation to the Plan Commission, which I will discuss during that report recording. The Plan Commission deliberated it with a public hearing and then passed it on to City Council. Ultimately, it was voted to be permanently removed, 4-3, and so that is moving forward. And then I went over my report. My administrator's report just covered a few things, talking about the draft budget. Our public hearing will be at a special city council meeting on Tuesday, November 16th. Homeowners can expect to see a mill rate increase of 1 cent if we take the maximum allowable levy, which is what the council has recommended and staff is at staff's recommendation. That will result in an annual increase of $1.50 to the city's portion of the property tax bill for anyone who has a median household or who has a home assessed at the median value in the city of Algoma at $150,000. So you're talking about $1.50 for the year. Leaf collection is underway. Will continue until either all the leaves are gone and picked up or until the snow makes it no longer feasible to do so. We ask that people move their leaves right onto the street up against the curb. We do want them on the street. It's much easier to pick up that way. And we had a special council meeting. I talked about in the administrator's report the following day, Tuesday the 2nd. It was more or less a meet and greet between new management with the Army Corps of Engineers and our elected officials here with the city to talk about some issues, primarily about the South Pier, but as well as a couple other matters. I talked a little bit about housing and the importance of that and how I'm looking into that more with my counterparts with the other municipalities in the county as well as the county administrator, and that will be an ongoing area of emphasis for us. And then finally, I provide an update on our landfill. We're having to work with the DNR as well as another engineering firm and some private stakeholders monitoring contamination at the landfill with the chemical PFAS. Which is commonly used in things like Teflon and other non-stick and water preventing chemicals and treatments. So we got our results back for that, and we are under what we are anticipating the state DNR will set as a regulatory limit, but nonetheless we are continuing to monitor that and work with them. And then we went into closed session. No action was ultimately taken as a result of that. The next regular council meeting will be Monday, December 6th at 6 p.m. But again, there will also be a special council meeting for the budget public hearing on Tuesday, November 16th here at the council chambers, and that will be at 4:30 p.m. The Finance and Personnel Committee held their regular meeting in October on Tuesday, October 19th, following the special council meeting that had occurred right before that. The first item of business on there was to set a future meeting date for a second budget workshop. The Finance Personnel had a special meeting earlier in the month to just talk about the budget and the draft. It was a workshop for the staff and the council, or rather the Finance and Personnel Committee, to go over that in some detail. So they set a future meeting date for that, which I will cover a little bit later. There was discussion on a letter of support for the Kewaunee County Economic Development Corporation, or KCEDC. So this is a letter of support pledging our support annually for the KCEDC and their director to continue to serve not only the county but the city of Algoma and our economic interests, and act as a resource for us to help with economic development within the community. There was a presentation that was gone over for the ambulance bids that were received for the new ambulance, which was subsequently adopted at the November 1 council meeting, or I should say authorized for purchase. So the two of our management personnel with the EMS presented the specs that they went over, and then the bids they received, and why they were recommending the particular ambulance they ultimately did go with. There was discussion on tornado sirens within the city of Algoma. Currently we have 2 sirens located within the city. However, and they've been paid for from a fund set up by the old Dominion nuclear power plant. However, as the technology upgrades for the system that runs those through the county, Dominion is no longer going to be paying for that, and so the question was, do we want to put the money in to maintain them, or simply let them go once they are no longer functional, which is what the majority of the communities in the county are doing. And ultimately the decision was to keep using them for now until we need to start putting money into them, and then we simply let them be decommissioned. We had a brief update on a grant opportunity for the public safety facility update through WPPI. For some energy efficient opportunities there. If the referendum were to pass in April for the new public safety building, basically looking at opportunities for grant monies to put in energy efficient solutions there. So there was support for that. And then there was a brief discussion on the use of personal vehicles or a city vehicle and mileage reimbursement at the request of one of the members, just to have an overview of that. And then finally, prior to going into closed session, we had a discussion on comprehensive plan. So for the next few finance and personnel meetings, I'm going to be going over, as city administrator, I'll be going over a couple sections of our comprehensive plan, which is basically our roadmap for land use and development within the city, and sort of acts as our guide for some of our decision making. And just going over that because we have only 2 members of the city council are actually still on the council when this plan was adopted 4 or 5 years ago. And so it was requested that we provide an overview of that, so we are doing that. And we will continue to do a couple sections at a time, as it is a rather large and cumbersome document. But we are continuing to do that moving forward. And then we went into closed session with no action taken following that. Moving right along then, the Finance and Personnel Committee met a 3rd time for the month of October as to have a follow-up meeting for the budget workshop to kind of tie that up before submitting the draft budget for the public hearing, which is coming up in November 16th. So had the budget workshop, talked about some of the outstanding issues from the first meeting, including wage increases, and then what we were going to do for the police department, as there was a request for an additional officer there, and then as it relates to the timing of hiring that individual if it's approved, and then talking about moving monies over forward for additional street work to be done using monies that we saved from this year's projects on 6th Street. Then I provided a very brief update on our Parks and Rec director transitioning. Sarah Robertson has submitted her resignation, and so just providing a very brief overview of what we're going to do in the meantime until we replace that position. So with that, the next Finance and Personnel meeting will be on Tuesday, November 16th, and that will be following the the special city council meeting with the public hearing for the budget. The Plan Commission met on Thursday, October 28th. Very light agenda, simply one item of business on there. And this was alluded to in the city council report. So the Plan Commission was considering a recommendation from the Public Works Committee for the removal of sidewalk on the 900 block of Mill Street and some distance on the south side of Washington Street. As a result of some storm damage, the sidewalk needed to be repaired, but the property owners petitioned the city and the Public Works Committee to permanently remove it. So our process requires that the Public Works Committee consider it and then make a recommendation to the Plan Commission, and then from there the Plan Commission holds a public hearing, which is what this item was tonight, where they then discuss it and make a recommendation to the council for final decision. They had the public hearing. No one from the public was present to speak on that. However, we did have a letter that was read from one of the property owners, and ultimately it was recommended that the sidewalk be removed on a vote of 4-2. But it ultimately went to the city council, where it was later considered at the November 1st meeting. And the Plan Commission, although they meet as needed, we are expecting to have one likely in early December because of the holidays. It all depends on when we receive application materials for a rezone that we are expecting here in the near future. So keep your eyes for that agenda. The Redevelopment Authority met on Tuesday, October 12th at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. I provided an update on redevelopment area number 2, which is again our redevelopment project up on 5th Street between the grocery store and Perry Park. We went through our schedule and noted that there were some dates where we were either a little bit behind on, or in some cases a little bit ahead, and so we wanted to have an updated schedule. So that will be presented. We are also working on getting the project contractor lined up for the demolition of the city-owned parcel to get that done, and that is on track. And so we will have that going forward. The Public Works Director was present to discuss some asbestos abatement that likely will need to occur with that property, and how that fits into the timeline. And finally, we talked about getting the letters out from our city attorney to the property owners, so that we can begin the appraisal process and start negotiating with the property owners to acquire those properties. There was also a resolution awarding the contract for those appraisal services on the agenda, and the very short discussion there, that was ultimately approved. The RDA will be meeting again on Tuesday, November 9th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall. The Community Development Committee met on Monday, October 18th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall. There was under old business continued discussion on the economic development packet. One of the members, Teal Van Lannen, who had been kind of spearheading that, provided a rough draft and updated document for them to look at, and then they discussed potential edits to that. We received a report from Sarah Kraus, who is the event coordinator for Soar on the Shore, as a member of Friends of Crescent Beach, provide an update on the success of that program this year, and what the grant monies were used for. That is something that we ask, or the CDC asks, whenever they award grant monies for such events, that they provide a report on how successful it was and how it went. So she provided that update. There was continued discussion on the potential creation of a downtown aesthetics program, on what that might look like and some of the stipulations that they might want to put into place. This would ultimately, if anything comes of this, it would basically go to City Council most likely for a recommendation for the creation of a formal program, but that discussion is nonetheless ongoing. I provided some information from Housing and Urban Development to the CDC with respect to residential housing assistance, like rehab and maintenance work, and some of the stipulations that go with those programs as they had asked for. And as these meetings continue, there will be continued discussion on if they want to create or change any of our work there and our programming there. So that discussion is ongoing. Under new business, there was an application, application for reimbursement from the Algoma United Methodist Church. Basically, they've been working with some property owners on addressing some blighted properties. In this case, it was the raising of a very dilapidated structure. They anticipate having more of that, and so they were seeking partial reimbursement through the grant program. After rather extensive discussion, it was ultimately approved with all the members, except for one who abstained, voting in approval of that. There was discussion on the CDC's mission statement and whether or not that needed to be changed, or rather, if anything, needed to be changed in order to better reflect work towards that mission statement. So there was some discussion on that. And ultimately, that's going to be on kind of just in the back of everyone's minds as the meetings continue. And then there was a conversation on the housing and economic development portions of the comprehensive plan, which coincides with what we've been doing at the Finance and Personnel Committee, basically walking through that and providing an update there. There was continued discussion for business owner feedback and an invitation and a process for setting that up. The CDC is contemplating setting up a regular, like a standing agenda item to have members of the business owners within the community coming in and either petitioning or expressing concerns or just providing an overview of their business and how they're doing within the community. As a means of improving communication between the CDC and our business owners. And then there was discussion on accommodations tax collections for things such as Airbnb and VRBOs and what that would look like from an ordinance standpoint. And so we're from a staff perspective, we're kind of taking a wait and see approach to see how other communities are tackling this, ones who have a much larger voice with this, and kind of seeing how they go about it before we make any changes ourselves, but recognizing that it's definitely something of interest to not only the CDC but the city to continue to monitor that and look at what we can do to make sure that those entities are paying their fair share of accommodations tax. And then finally, last time on the agenda was going over some zoning concerns within the city and our zoning code specifically. Ultimately, this item was tabled because the meeting had gone on for quite some time at this point, so that will be on a future agenda. And then the CDC next meets on Monday, November 15th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall.